Hi friends, myself Subrata Mukherjee and you are viewing my channel Dr. Subrata Mukherjee-Distance Learning in Commerce. Today I got a request from my student to solve a problem on fixed overhead variance. So today I have decided to solve the problem on a fixed overhead variance. I would like to request my viewers to subscribe the channel and to see the playlist section of the channel where I have uploaded lectures on accounts, financial management, costing and management accountancy. Please give your valuable comments so that I can develop the channel for the benefits of the students of commerce. Students can communicate with me through email which I have given in the description box. At a certain factory, the budgeted quantity of units to be produced was 10,000 units for a 20 working day month. The budgeted fixed overhead for the period was rupees 20,000. During the month, the actual quantity produced was 7,500. Actual fixed overhead incurred amounted to rupees 24,000. The standard rate of production has been set at 500 units per working day. Only 18 days were actually worked during the month. You are required to compute factory overhead variances. Here we are supposed to first define the parameters. So since we are calculating the fixed overhead variances, so the first parameter that I am going to write is standard hour. So here SH means the standard hours for actual output. A very interesting part of the question is that here the hours is not given, rather they have mentioned about the days. So if you consider that each day is having 8 hours, then it can be converted to number of hours. But since the number of days is given, so we are calculating the standard days for actual output. So here I am just in place of hours I am writing standard days for actual output. Now it is given that 500 is the standard units per day for production. Means in one day the laborers were supposed to produce 500 units. So 7,500 units were actually produced. So how many standard days is required? So 7,500 is the actual output. So actual output I am writing here. Actual output is 7,500 units, and standard production per day is equal to 500 units. Therefore standard hours, or you can say I am writing here SH, or the standard hours for actual output will be equal to 7,500 units divided by 500 units per day. So this will be equal to 15 days. So your standard hour, that is the standard days for actual output, will be equal to 15 days. Now the second parameter is standard rate. So this is standard rate per hour. So we are writing here the standard rate per day instead of hour. So since we are given the number of days, so we have to calculate the standard rate per day. So this is equal to budgeted overhead divided by budgeted working day, budgeted working days. So it is given budgeted overhead to rupees 20,000 and budgeted working day is 20 days. So this is equal to rupees 1,000 per day. Now the third parameter is BH, that is budgeted working days instead of budgeted hours. So instead of budgeted hours, we are writing budgeted working day. So these hours to be removed. So this is equal to 20 days. Then the fourth parameter is age. This is equal to actual days instead of writing hours. So here also I am removing the word hour and I am writing the actual days. So actual days is given as 18 days. So you will have a calendar variance. So next is your fifth parameter, that is AR. This is equal to actual rate per day. Now actual rate per day is equal to actual overhead. So actual overhead is 24,000 and the actual working days is 18 days. So I am keeping this AR as like this, that is 24,000 rupees, 24,000 divided by 18 days. Now the sixth parameter is your RBH. So generally RBH denotes revised budgeted hour for actual working days. So this is revised budgeted days. Instead of hours, I am removing this words hour. So revised budgeted days for actual working hour. So I have to cut off, strike off, and I am writing as days. So revised budgeted days for actual working days. So this is equal to 18 days. The revised budgeted days for actual working days is a product of budgeted hours per day, budgeted hours per day into actual working days. So here actual working days is 18 and budgeted hours per day, if it is constant, say here if the budgeted working days is 20, here I have written, so if it is the budgeted working day, that is budgeted working hours into number of budgeted days, so it is also a multiplication of two product, that is budgeted hours per day into budgeted working days. So in BH, that is budgeted hours and revised budgeted hours, these two factors are constant. That is the reason the budgeted working days is 20, that is budgeted hour, I have written here 20, and the revised budgeted hour will be 18, that is 18 days. And the actual working days is also 18. So your calendar variance will exist, whereas the capacity variance will be nil. Revised budgeted day and the actual working day will remain the same, that is 18 days. You can see the 6 parameters that I have calculated here for your understanding. Generally the H denotes the hours, but instead of writing hours I have to write it as day, because the rate per unit is given in the question, but rate per unit is not the same as rate per hour, but you can definitely convert the rate per hour into rate per day, considering any number of working hour in a day. Now we are going to calculate the fixed overhead variances. So the first variance is fixed overhead cost variance. So fixed overhead cost variance. This is calculated as standard hour into standard rate minus actual hour into actual rate. Or this is the actual overhead. So standard hour is 15 into 1000 minus 24,000. So your fixed overhead cost variance is 9,000 adverse. Next will be fixed overhead expenditure variance. So this is equal to budgeted hour into standard rate minus actual hour into actual rate. So your budgeted overhead is already given in the question as 20,000 and your actual overhead is rupees 24,000. So the fixed overhead expenditure variance will be 4,000 adverse. Third variance is your fixed overhead volume variance. This is equal to standard hour minus budgeted hour into standard rate. So standard hour I have calculated as 15 and budgeted hours is 20. This is 15 days and 20 days into standard rate per day is 1000. So this is equal to 5000 adverse. Next is the fixed overhead capacity variance. So this is equal to actual hour minus revised budgeted hour into standard rate. So actual hour is 18 days and revised budgeted hours is also 18 days into 1000. So you have a fixed overhead capacity variance as nil. Then the fixed overhead calendar variance. So fixed overhead calendar variance. So this is calculated as revised budgeted hour minus budgeted hour into standard rate. So revised budgeted is 18 and budgeted hour is 20 into standard rate. It is 1000 rupees per day. So you will have 2000 adverse. And the last variance is fixed overhead efficiency variance. Now this is calculated as standard hour minus actual hour into standard rate. Now this is equal to 15 minus 18 into 1000. So you have rupees 3000 adverse. So these are the 6 variances under fixed overhead variances. So fixed overhead cost variance is divided into fixed overhead expenditure and fixed overhead volume variance. So you will, if you add up these two variants, that is fixed overhead expenditure variance and fixed overhead volume variance, you will have fixed overhead cost variance. And then fixed overhead volume variance has 3 sub-variants: fixed overhead capacity variance, fixed overhead calendar variance, and fixed overhead efficiency variance. So if you add up these 3 variances, you will get fixed overhead volume variance. Thank you. Thanks for watching the lecture.